Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I wanted to make a masculine card, and they're my very favorite kind of cards to give because guys don't necessarily expect something nice on their birthday, especially a card to go along with the gift that you're giving them. So I really enjoy making these, although they can be a little bit tricky. So I thought that it was about time for me to do another masculine card for Video Tutorial Monday. And this week is a very special week for me because it's the 1-year anniversary of my Video Tutorial Monday series, and stay tuned for the end of this video because I'll have more details on how to enter in a special giveaway for this anniversary. So let's get started with the card. I've stuck with some really good guy colors, blue and green, and I'm going to use those together, and I wanted to find a pattern paper, so I pulled out this blue houndstooth, which is actually from a very girly pattern paper pad, the Lime Twist Collection Happy Go Lucky by My Mind's Eye. And I've just cut this down to 3 3/4, which will be the perfect width to go on this card base. And I've cut it to 1 3/4 inch tall. And this is about 1/3 of the height of the card, and we'll let my vintage cream piece be the other 2/3. And in order to figure this out, I just subtracted my border, which is a 1/2 inch, so that's 5 inches, and then divided that by 3. So it's 1 2/3 inch, and then I just round it up to 1 3/4 inch, and that's how I get my perfect third of the card. And this goes really well with the rule of thirds. If you're not familiar with this rule, Google it, and it's a perfect rule in design that will help you make your cards look perfect every time. So I'm going to stamp this vintage cream piece with the Schoolhouse backdrops from Lawn Fawn. This is a few months old, but I just got it in now, and I'm really excited to use it because it's so versatile and of course great for guy cards. So I'm going to use some repositionable adhesive and stick it down to my work piece of paper here, which is this is an excess piece of paper from my printer. And this will just keep it in place while I stamp, which is really good, especially when you're stamping something multiple times on it. You don't want it to shift and then have to redo it all over. And I'm using Speckled Egg ink because I want my sentiment to be in Spice Tin ink over it, and I really want the sentiment to be readable. So I'm using the lighter blue ink as the background. And then I just have this on my block, and I'm just going to line it up the best that I can and see what happens. These lines aren't exactly straight because they are hand drawn, which is one of the awesome things about it, because you don't have to work quite as hard to line it up perfectly. So I'm just going to stamp all down this piece of paper, inking it up, and then eyeballing it, and then trying to get it lined up each time. And if it's not perfect, that is fine. Just make sure you have it facing the same way each time. So that was fairly painless and really easy to line up. And now I have the perfect base for putting my sentiment on. So I'm just going to clean this up with some water. That's how I clean off almost all of my stamps, unless they're really messy. But I'm going to spritz it with some water and then use my just old t-shirt to wipe it off. And then I'm going to add some old paper distress ink to the edges, just to give it a little bit of a worn look, but I'm not going too overboard on this. I just want it to look like it really fits in with the slightly distressed look of the pattern paper. And I'll ink the edges of the pattern paper too while I'm at it. This will just cover up any of the white core that's showing through from when I cut it. And now I can go ahead and adhere this down to my card. I'll use my ATG and stick the white piece down first because I did not measure the height of this one. I just kind of eyeballed it and made sure that it would be long enough, and then figured that I would cover it up with the pattern paper. So that's a handy tip too, is you only have to measure once. Or you only have to measure one of the pieces when you're overlapping them like this. This cardstock, by the way, is from Paper Tray Ink. It's their ripe avocado color, and it's perfect for guy cards. And now I think I'm ready to put together my sentiment. So I want to stamp it somewhere up here on this grid. And I'm going to put happy birthday on my blocks separately. And this is, by the way, Smitty's ABCs from Lawn Fawn. And I am in love with this stamp set because it is so versatile and there's multiples of each letter. So you can really get so much use out of this. And my very, very favorite feature about all Lawn Fawn alphabets is that they come on rectangle bases. So when you go to line them up, all you have to do is, okay, let's grab our H here. All you have to do is line up the bases and they'll be perfectly straight every time. So we have the H and then we have the A, and then you just line up. If you can see here, there's squares that they're on. So even though the stamp is still just the letter, you can use the base of the acrylic to really position them correctly. And it's just a matter of lining them up. Sometimes it's a little bit harder than other times just because I'm trying to look through my camera to do this. But there you have it. So you can just go ahead and line up all of your letters and then they're automatically ready to stamp and perfectly spaced. So I'm gonna line up the happy and I'll be back in just a second. And now I'm just going to ink it up on my block and then stamp it down kind of as a proofing mechanism. That way you can make sure that you didn't grab, you know, for example, a Q instead of a P or something like that. You may think it's easy to avoid, but trust me, it happens sometimes, and you definitely want to find out on your scrap piece of paper before it's on your project. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp the happy birthday, and I'm going to use the lines, and I think I'm going to do it up here. And so just you can get right over it and then stamp down. Perfect. And now I'm just going to put these back, and then I'm just going to spell out birthday on here as well. And once again, I'll stamp it on my scrap piece of paper just to make sure everything looks alright. And it does. So I can go ahead and I'm going to line this up again using the lines. And I really love using these stamps together because it just creates such a perfect straight look, and I love it. Now that I have my card, my sentiment all stamped out, I'm going to accent my little card with some twine. And this is from May Arts, their natural color twine. And I'm going to do a little card surgery here. And I want to wrap the twine around several times. So I'm going to actually cut a square or a rectangle right here where I know I want the twine to come out, and then it'll be hidden on the back, and you won't be able to see this hole from the front, but it'll give it a place to come out the side of the card. And I like this more than cutting a notch out of the side of the card because this is completely hidden from the front. And now I can just thread this through a few times, and then this is the perfect chance for an Enchanted Evening button from Paper Tray Ink. So I'm just going to tie my thread actually through the button. I'm going to cut off a little bit of excess string here, and then tie it up both sides of the button, and then it's as simple as tying a regular knot. Then you can adjust your threads. And even though this is a guy's card, I think some stitching would be very appropriate here. So I'm going to sew a couple cross stitches with this same twine. And I'm going to do an X pattern down here. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It's kind of rustic, so that is okay. And I think 3 stitches will probably be good. We'll see. I can always go back and add more holes if necessary. And now, even though I didn't plan this, I still think it needs a little bit something else, and I think that thing is twine. So I'm going to add some more twine up here by the sentiment, and I'm actually going to do it so that it kind of puts it in a box coming out from the side here. So I'm going to punch it right about here and right about here, and then kind of use these lines as guidelines so that I can have a perfect box. Now that I have my little box sewn around my sentiment, I think there are only a couple things left to do. I'm going to hold down this button with a glue dot, and this will just keep it nice and safe and sturdy against the card. And then there we have it. So I'm going to keep this card rather simple this week, and it's just really all about the patterns. You don't want to add too much to it to distract from them, and I'm sure any guy would love this card. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial, and try making a masculine card yourself this week, because I know that those are definitely ones that we can stock up on and save for future events. So here is a link on the screen. Click anywhere on the screen now to go to the giveaway video. This giveaway will close at midnight Central Time on September 19th, so 2011. So you have until then to enter. So go over to the video now. Otherwise, you can click the link in the video description or go to my post on my blog, brittaswiderski.com, on September 12th, 2011 for more details. So here's a picture of the finished card, and here's a close-up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again next week on another Video Tutorial Monday.